Very well. Okay, I see a lot of people filming, so what I'll do is I'll walk around a lot. Well, I'm talking. I do that anyway, so don't worry about me. Thank you, Sarah, for that. It's all Project Fear, of course. Right? None of it's real, it's all Project Fear. Says the people who are threatening to send us 70 million Turkish Muslims. Say the people that say 29 million Romanian and Bulgarians are coming to live in your basement. And they call us Project Fear? Seriously. But before I start, I will talk about international trade and things in a little while. Who remembers last Sunday? Remembrance Sunday. When we remembered the First World War and the Second World War and the millions of people that died. Citizens of our country, citizens of our friends and our neighbouring countries. How many wars have we had since the EU was founded? The EU, its fundamental principle, the reason for its very creation, is to create peace on our continent. And since it's been around, since we've been working together and talking together, we haven't been fighting with each other. Because in order to trade with somebody, you've got to talk to them, instead of pointing a rifle and shooting them. 20 years we've had peace-ish on the island of Ireland, since the Good Friday Agreement, the Belfast Agreement was signed. The EU's commitment to that process, as well as the United States contributions, but over the last 20 years, the amount of investment that our friends and neighbours across in Europe have invested on the island of Ireland to stop us killing each other and maiming thousands of people on that island just across the Irish Sea is unbelievable. And that's what I want to start with, and keep that in mind while we're talking about trade and all the boring stuff like international trade, who cares? The economy, who cares? Well, yeah, so it's a European Union, it's a trade bloc, it's the biggest one on the planet, so what? How do we think the food gets on our supermarket shelves? How do you think your medicines get to the local chemist? Yeah, when you go to the hospital, how do you think the hospital's got sufficient medicines to treat the patients? Where do the staff come from in the hospitals? Yeah, the fact that we're a member of the largest single trade bloc on the planet affects all of our lives. Sarah was talking about foreign direct investment. Over £1 trillion of foreign direct investment into the United Kingdom. 40% of that comes from other EU 27 countries. And when we talk about FDI and foreign direct investment, what's that all about? It's about a company from a foreign country investing in the United Kingdom, creating a business, creating jobs, allowing friends and family members and cousins and people around the country to be able to have a job and provide for their families. And pay taxes and national insurance into HM Treasury, so that Her Majesty's Treasury's got money to spend on the NHS and welfare and benefits and the fire brigade and the police force and the army. This is what foreign direct investment does. It keeps our lights on our streets, because central government can issue some of that taxes that they've collected from these foreign companies that have invested in the UK and put it down to local authorities and local councils. Across the board, being a member of an international community is really, really helpful. So 40% of our FDI, foreign direct investment, comes from other EU 27 countries. Another 30% comes from the United States of America, as was pointed out by Sarah. And the other third comes from other countries all over the world. When we leave the European Union, we're not just leaving the bloc of 27 countries, our nearest neighbours. We're also leaving a whole host of other international agreements with another 60+ countries all over the planet. You don't have to have a comprehensive free trade agreement with a country in order to be able to trade. But when you get to a comprehensive free trade agreement, that's like getting married at the end of a long engagement. And before you get engaged, you're going on a few dates. Before you go on a few dates, you might get on the phone a lot. So there's a whole process, and you start with these framework agreements. When you start trading with somebody, you'll say, I want to be able to buy something from you, I want to be able to sell you something. So it's a long process before you actually get to a comprehensive free trade agreement. I've just realised that Andrew introduced me as the bloke you met in the pub down the road. If you don't know about the three blokes in the pub, I'm the middle guy. I'm a former international trade negotiator. I've lived and worked in over a dozen countries inside and outside the European Union. The Hong Kong government flew me out to represent them as an expert witness in an international arbitration case. So I'm the middle guy. The guy in the hat on the left in the pub, in our videos, he's travelled to every single country on the planet without flying. Over 200 countries he's been to without flying. He's crossed a lot of land borders. He knows how easy it is to go around the EU and countries that are working together, and to get into countries where we have no relationship, like Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq. He's been around the world, and 54 countries on the African continent. He got imprisoned there twice, actually, but He'll tell you about that another time. The third, Graham rang me up one day. He said, Jason, we're talking about Brexit all the time online on social media. He said, but nobody's listening to social media. Nobody listens to the politicians anymore. They listen to Dave down the pub. He tells them what they should vote and how they should vote. He said, why not get my video camera, I'll come to London, we'll sit and talk about Brexit from my perspective and your perspective, and we'll film it and stick it on YouTube and see what people think. And then as he was coming down, he said, let's get Kieran as well, the third bloke in the pub. He's a just-in-time white van man, he's a delivery driver from Essex. He's driven 1 million miles in Europe. He's crossed every border from Gibraltar to the Arctic Circle and the Ukraine across the United Kingdom. He goes through Dover and Calais port every single week. He travels a lot. He picks things up in Spain and France and gets them back to the United Kingdom just in time to go onto a production line. That's what just-in-time delivery is. That's what he does. So we sat in the pub and we filmed it, stuck it onto YouTube, and that was episode 1. We talked about what does Brexit mean? And people loved it. 800,000 views and downloads in 7 days. Oh, gobsmacked. I've never done anything like that. I'm like a businessman. I'm not a campaigner or an activist. I'm like, holy moly, that's a lot of people. We've got to do another one. So then we did another video, and it was the best kind of Brexit. What's the best Brexit that we could possibly have? So we filmed that. And then there was a lot of talk about World Trade Organization rules. We could just leave the EU. We don't need the EU. We could just fall back onto WTO rules and everything would be great. They forgot to tell us that nobody in the world, no country on the planet trades solely under WTO terms. Because it's a nightmare. Now I knew this, and I said, look, Graham, why don't we go to Geneva and go to the headquarters of this organisation, and we'll sit down for a couple of days and we'll talk to these guys and see what they say in Geneva about falling back onto WTO terms and what it actually means. Now, the World Trade Organization has got 164 country members all over the world. Clearly, because it's the World Trade Organization. So we sat with these guys and said, well, what do you think it means? What are other countries saying about Brexit? How are they looking at the United Kingdom? And they said, well, Wilbur Ross is a good example of what other countries are saying. Now, Wilbur Ross is the Secretary of State for Commerce for the United States of America. Second largest trade bloc in the world, if you like. He's called Brexit a God-given opportunity to take pieces out of the UK industrial and manufacturing sectors. God-given opportunity to take pieces out of our economy, and we're doing it on purpose to allow these countries to do this? That's insanity. They likened it to say, it's almost like you're imposing sanctions, but you're not imposing economic sanctions on Russia or Iran. You're imposing them on yourselves. They gave us 2 anecdotes, or 2 similes, whatever you want to call it. The first one, they said, what you're doing with Brexit, it's like you're driving down the autobahn at 140 kilometers an hour. You've got your husband and your wife sitting in the passenger seat, your kids are sitting behind you in the back seat, you're in 6th gear, flying down the motorway, 140 miles an hour. And what you do is you put the clutch in, put the car into 1st gear at 140 miles an hour, and let the clutch in. That's what Brexit is, and that's what you're doing to your country. They said, whatever happens, the engine is going to be devastated. And the engine is the economy of your country. It's what provides money for the NHS, and for the military, and for local authorities. They said, if the passengers in the car, if they survive, they're going to be in deep shock for a long, long time. And that's us. That was the first analogy they gave us. They said the rest of the world who are in and out of this same office every single week, other countries are here every day or every week. We've got one guy from France, another guy from South Korea, another guy from Mexico, another guy from Brazil. They're in and out. They all see the European Union as like a baked ball of fish, swimming around really, really fast, protecting each other, while they're being surrounded by all these sharks. And the sharks are just waiting. The sharks in the other countries. They're just waiting for a big, fat, juicy fish to swim away from that baked ball by itself, so they can swoop in and take pieces out. And then he said, well, the first part of the UK economy that other countries are going to go after, or telling us that they're going to go after, is your agri-food sector. That's your agriculture and downstream food processing. So agriculture is your dairy farmers, your meat farmers, your crop farmers, your arable farmers. But if you've got a dairy farm, he's not just producing milk. He's also creating like a mini industry over here, making butter, selling the butter. You've got another industry over here, making cheese from the milk that's being produced by the dairy farm. Another one over here that's making yogurt that's from the milk that's produced by the dairy farm. And the yogurt guy, he's got his own little industry that he's creating. He's creating another industry making little plastic pots to put the yogurt in. Another little industry that's making the little silver foil tops that go onto those plastic pots. You've got a cardboard paper manufacturer making the wrapping that goes around the pots when they're all put together. You've got a printing company printing the marketing and the advertising on the outside of it, which goes into the thing. You've got logistics companies moving all these different pieces around. They said in the UK you've got 3.5 million people work in the United Kingdom agri-food sector. And they said under every single model that we've run, economic model that we've run on our systems, bear in mind it's one of the wealthiest organisations on the planet, it's the World Trade Organization, with a withdrawal agreement or without, with a transition agreement out to 2020 without. Under all of the different scenarios of Brexit, your agri-food sector in the United Kingdom has a minimum of 18 months life expectancy before it's gone, and a maximum of a soft Brexit of 24 months. 3.5 million people, how are they going to destroy an industry in 2 years? Now, we as international trade negotiators, we're hard-nosed kids. If I'm representing the United States of America, and I want to be able to supply my beef or my chicken or my whatever the products I want to sell to the United Kingdom, the first thing I'm going to do is try and take away the competition. I did it in the steel industry a lot. It's like I used to run strategic market planning for the 5th largest steel company in the world. And we look at our competition over there and say, well, okay, what are they doing? What can we do to leapfrog over them and have a 5, 10, 15-year strategic plan to be well ahead of them by the end of the 15 years? And we say, okay, well, let's sell into their market. We'll sell in loss leader products, so we lose a bit of money for a couple of years. And then once we've destroyed the competition in that area, we can then hike up our prices to whatever we want them to be, and we can recoup the losses that we made in the first couple of years over the next 5 or 10 years. And that's what the Brexiteers, specifically the European Research Group in Parliament, led by Jacob Rees-Mogg, has even suggested that we help these other countries destroy our economy. They're saying, well, let's lower all our tariffs to 0. Then we can have cheap shoes for our children, that we can have cheap food imported into the country. And so, first of all, we're not going to have any sort of protectionist tariffs. People say the EU is protectionist. Yeah, damn right it is. It's protecting us against these other organised other countries, like the United States of America. So, first of all, the proposal is we lower all our tariffs. Then, basically, you've given away everything. If you're a trade negotiator, I'm sitting in America going, okay, well, why would I do a trade deal with the United Kingdom to lower my tariffs and lower my barriers when they've just made it as simple as possible? They've taken away all the incentive. As a WTO member, any of the other 163 countries around the world, they'll say, yeah, but I'm bound by the WTO rules, so I've still got to charge a tariff on everything I buy from the United Kingdom. So everything we sell, say I make a bottled water at the moment, and I sell it to Mexico for £1 a bottle. Easy. When I sell it post-Brexit, as a third country to Mexico, with no trade agreement with Mexico, my customer's forced to apply an import tariff under WTO rules, which says he now has to pay £1.25 for that same bottle of water he used to pay £1 for. But he can still buy that bottle of water for £1 from any of the other countries where they've got trade agreements. It's only the UK that's giving up all of its trade agreements, not just with the EU 27, but with all of the other countries we trade with, thanks to our EU membership. We lose all of those trade agreements. Every single thing we export out of the country will be subject to import tariffs at the other end. Now, the Brexiteers don't seem to understand the difference between imports and exports. And Sarah made a really good point about it being frictionless with the European Union. It's also much easier with all these other countries. These trade agreements that we enjoy as an EU member, they cover about 90% of all of our exports. Today, we've got about 5.4 million small to medium-sized enterprises in the UK. 5.4 million little businesses, ranging from 10 to 50 employees. 334,000 of those currently shipped to the EU. That's their target market. 334,000 companies employing minimum 10 people. 3.3 million people. 3.3 million jobs. Just shipping stuff to Madrid or Barcelona, the same way they can ship to Manchester or Birmingham. Makes no difference. When we put up these frictions and these barriers on our borders, these small businesses will have to hire a freight forwarder, a customs agent, or they'll have to hire somebody themselves and hire another member of staff. How are they going to pay for that? Goodness knows. The government's technical notices says that they should buy a piece of software. It doesn't tell them which piece of software or where they can buy it from or what it's going to do for them. But these are companies that have never had to fill in customs declarations. They've never had to fill in carnets and list all the goods that are going to be shipped from this country to France or to Spain or to Slovakia or to another country around the world. They've not had to do it before. Now they will. That's what Brexit means. So a lot of these companies are unable to do it, can't afford external things. Oh, in fact, we haven't even got enough customs agents in the UK to service 334,000 companies. So where do they come from? Where are they going to come from? Oh, it's going to hire them from the EU. Oh no, it's just killed freedom of movement. You can't get them from there. When you look at the overall, I mean, international trade is really, really complex, but it's what puts food on our supermarket shelves. When you put up barriers, what about perishable food? Things like lettuce and tomatoes that we currently import into the UK. In the UK, we can only grow 50% of the food that we eat as a country. Because we live on a tiny island on the northeast edge of the Atlantic Ocean. It's a fact of geology and geography, it's not my fault. But it's a fact, we only grow about 50%. That means we can feed half the country. So, you guys can go hungry, yeah, after Brexit, you guys can have food. Or you can have half the food you eat today, and you've got to give the rest to them. That's what Brexit means. Because if lettuce and tomatoes are stuck in Rotterdam, and they can't get across the North Seas in the United Kingdom, we can't get into Harwich or Harwich or Dover, wherever it's coming into. It's gone off. If it has to sit on the border for 3, 4, 5 days, you've got less choice of being back in the UK. At a push, we can make about 70% of our food. The problem is, we then don't have people to pick it from the fields. If you look at Owen Paterson, right, Minister in the Coalition Government, he said, when he was a minister, he said, I think if we get rid of all these EU migrants from Romania and Bulgaria who are coming over here, working over here, paying their taxes over here, picking our fruit, picking our vegetables, if we get rid of all of them, what we can do is we can put pensioners to work in the fields. You can Google it, get your Google out, Google it. Owen Paterson, pensioners, fruit picking. His proposal is, but it's okay now, because pensioners, say, you're not quite as efficient as these young, enthusiastic workers from the rest of the European Union. So his plan was to not pay the minimum wage to pensioners because you don't work as productively. What? Serious proposal from the government minister. The problem we've got is this year we've got 132,000 fewer EU workers in the United Kingdom. It's 132,000 fewer people paying income tax. Take the average salary is £26,000 a year, say £6,000 or £7,000 in income tax, and then a few £1,000s in national insurance, then they're going down the shops, they're buying food, they've got VAT on a lot of it, they're buying electronics, they're buying bedding, they're buying clothes, all of that income gone from 132,000 EU migrants that don't want to be here anymore, they've left the country. And at the same time as them going, it means that our food and our vegetables is rotting in farmers' fields. Look at the NFU. I mean, all of this you can Google for yourself, and I actively encourage people to fact check and Google this sort of thing, these sort of facts, because people just say, oh, it's Project Fear, it's not true. So food's rotting in the fields, we haven't got fruit pickers. There's 108,000 vacancies in the National Health Service across England, not even the UK. 108,000 vacancies. We don't have enough nurses to start with, we don't have enough GPs, we don't have enough doctors. The government's plan post-Brexit is what we'll do is we'll fast-track nurse training so that they can become a doctor in 2 years instead of 5 years. They didn't put that on the side of a big red bus, did they? That your doctor's going to be less qualified in hospitals. They didn't tell us that. So we haven't got enough nurses right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the nurses and fast-track them into doctors. And where the heck are the nurses going to come from? Who's going to be putting the medicines into the patients' mouths and bloodstreams? While we're talking about medicines, I had a 3-hour conference call last week with one of the major pharmaceutical manufacturers in the UK, and she's the head of regulatory stuff, so she makes sure medicines are safe for us to consume, they do all the testing of the drugs that they make and make sure that the tablets we take don't kill us. Quite a useful job, but she's really, really senior, and she's one of the people that goes in and gives evidence to DexEU in these secret consultation meetings. Who knew they had secret consultation meetings at the Department for Exiting the EU? It's kind of secret. Shh. So when they go into these things, in various industry sectors, not just pharmaceuticals and medicines, they get given a piece of paper on the table, and they're told to sign it. And this is a non-disclosure agreement that says anything that they discuss and they hear during that next meeting, they're not allowed to talk about outside of the room. All secret. And I said, well, this is some junior civil servant making up rules just because he can, because he's a job's worth. They said, no, Secretary of State says, sign this before we start the meeting. They sign it, and then they give them to the Secretary of State, who collects them all up and takes them out of the room. So she's in the room with GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca. These are all pharmaceutical medicine manufacturers in the UK. And she was telling us off the record what advice these companies had given to the UK government about Brexit and what happens after we leave. They've warned the government that we need to stockpile about 6 months' worth of medicines. And the government said, we can't afford to stockpile 6 months of medicines for the entire NHS and all our chemists and all our GPs across the country. So the government's proposal is to stockpile 6 weeks' worth. Now the people that are in the know, who actually manufacture the 48 million different packages of medicines that we make in the UK and we ship across to the EU every single year. And because we sell a lot of drugs, we make a lot of drugs, we sell them to the EU, but we also import 37 million packages of tablets and medicines every single year back into the UK to service the UK population. What that tells us is we don't make the medicines that we need to fulfill everything we do. And that's the great thing about working in cooperation with the largest single market on the planet. They can make some things over there that we need, and we can make things they need, and we can just share it backwards and forwards through friction-free borders. And so the problem that she's got particularly is her daughter's really ill. Really ill. So she has medicines, and she knows, she's in the note, she knows that she needs 6 months worth of stockpiling of this particular medicine. And she said the government are not doing it. She went to her NHS GP. NHS GP said, no, sorry, we can't prescribe 6 months ahead. We just can't do it because we're the NHS. So she went to a private general practitioner and got prescriptions for 6 months ahead for this particular medicine that only comes from Italy. And she knows what the problems are going to be trying to get that medicine into the UK post-Brexit. She's bought herself her own freezer, a separate freezer at home, and a brand new fridge, and she's got all the medicine her daughter needs for 6 months post-Brexit. The NHS are not doing that because we cannot afford to do it. And the government are not giving us this information that we need to know. I do a lot of these sort of talks all over the country. A lady sat in one of the talks I did. She said, Jason, can you guarantee me that I'm not going to die because of Brexit? And I said, well, how do you mean? And she said, well, I'm on 6 different types of medication a day. If I miss one, I will be dead in 24 hours due to the nature of my illness. I'm like, holy cow. She said, 3 of the medicines I take, 3 of the 6, I've got a 7-day potency, which means if I take them on the 8th or 9th day, it's not potent, and I will die within 24 hours. I'm like, holy shit. She said, how am I supposed to stockpile drugs that have got a 7-day life expectancy? And that was an absolute, genuine question. She can't be the only person in the country that has that kind of issue. We talk a lot about radioactive isotopes. How are we going to get those into the country? These are things that they use for chemotherapy. Right? They've got a 30-minute optimum time of use. They're brought into hospitals on motorcycles while the patient's being prepped to be treated for chemotherapy treatment. And they come into the country just in time. And we can do that right now, friction-free. When we put up the barriers that Sarah was talking about, people are going to die because of Brexit. And that's just unacceptable. The Secretary of State for Health was asked the question yesterday morning on the radio, and the presenters asked him, said, can you guarantee that people will not be dying because of Brexit over the medicines issue? And he said, no. You can't guarantee that. The Department of Health wrote to the Department for exiting the EU and said, medicines is one thing, but we cook food, we balance meals nutritionally for different types of patients in different wards at different ages, from pediatrics right through all the different departments in the hospital. He said, if we don't have the right ingredients, we can't cook the right foods. And if we can't cook the right foods, people are not going to go home from the hospitals, despite the fact we could have cured them. This is the Department of Health's official warning to the government. And people were worried that aeroplanes wouldn't be flying. This is so serious, I cannot emphasize it enough. And why would aeroplanes fly, by the way, just since I mentioned it? Because we have 750 different treaties with the European Union. One of them is called EASA, it's the European Aviation Safety Agency. And their job is to certify British engineers that they're qualified to put fuel into an aeroplane and refuel it when it's landed at a British airport. Yeah? And without that certification, I mean, I couldn't walk onto an airfield and put fuel in an aeroplane, so I'm not qualified to do it. I don't have a certificate, I have a little badge that says I can. You know, you've got engineers who fix and maintain aeroplanes, and they're qualified to put the sellotape on the wing when it's about to fall off. You know? And that's their job, but they're qualified to do that and certified. When we're no longer an EU member, we lose the ability to certify our engineers to do all these different jobs on the aeroplanes, which means the entire aeroplane is no longer certified as safe to fly inside EU airspace. So therefore, we can't fly in. That's just one of the tiny pieces. When all the treaties cease, he says, just checking the time, yep, okay, a few more minutes. When all our treaties cease when we leave the European Union, because that's what Article 50 says. Article 50 is 5 paragraphs, half an A4 page. The third paragraph says, all of the treaties cease to apply to the member state that's leaving the European Union. One of those is the EASA, certification of our engineers. Secondly, the Single Skies Agreement. That gives us a username and a login and a password to be able to access EU-wide air traffic control systems. So we can see when aeroplanes are flying into UK airspace and they can see when our planes are going out. That gets cancelled at 11 and 1 p.m. 29th of March next year. You've got the Open Skies Agreement, which is between the European Union and other international countries around the world. That allows American planes to come and land in the EU countries. Those are just 3 of 750 plus different treaties, all of which cease to apply to the United Kingdom. Eurostar train drivers, they're not allowed, they won't be qualified to drive on the continent. So you can drive the Eurostar to Calais, but he's got to get off and put a French driver on to drive it further. Anyway, I've touched on a number of different things, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. Remember why the EU was created in the first place, please. Peace. Because we talk, we jaw. Now we talk rather than war. And for me, that's the absolute #1 reason why we should stay members